As a Zoomer whose peak single-player experience prior to playing Half-Life was Red Dead Redemption 2, which without a doubt is an excellent game, the Half-Life series was a pleasant surprise to me. The amazing gameplay along with an immersive universe and story, as well as almost every game being around $10 on Steam, makes it a must-play for anyone with a computer that won't burst into flames opening Internet Explorer. Also, I have not played Half-Life Alyx, but if you want to see that, like the video and subscribe for when I eventually upload it. Half-Life was developed by Valve and released in 1998. The game still holds up as a must-play game to this day. The story involves Gordon Freeman, a 27-year-old MIT grad with a degree in theoretical physics, and is the main protagonist for most of the series. In this game, Gordon is hired at Black Mesa, a top-secret research facility in New Mexico. He partially causes the Resonance Cascade, an experiment gone wrong which creates a portal to an alien world known as Xen. This leads to Xen's inhabitants invading Earth. After this, Gordon has to escape Black Mesa, battling the US military and Xen aliens along the way. In my opinion, the gunplay and enemies in this game are the best in the series with the exception of Opposing Force, which I will get into briefly. Although, my only problem with the game is that the story is kinda neglected and is mainly told through scientists and guards you find throughout Black Mesa. In the game's defense, it was made in 1998 and almost all shooters had minimal or no story at the time, so the game was really ahead of its time. My last problem is somehow there are still minor bugs in the game after 25 years, which I don't understand how that works. Opposing Force is a DLC for the original game released in 1999 and was developed by Gearbox. And before you ask, yes, it's that Gearbox. The game follows Adrian Shepard, an ATCU unit involved in a cover-up mission gone sideways shortly after the Black Mesa incident. The game is the best DLC for a game I've ever played. It has a greater variety of weapons, enemies, and features than the original. This DLC is so good that many consider it on par or better than the original. In my opinion, both games are both enjoyable in their own ways. The music in my opinion is more lacking and the game overall just doesn't feel like it's mostly in the same universe. That doesn't mean it's worse, I just think it's as good as Half-Life 1, but it's more likable in its own ways than the original game. Blue Shift is yet another DLC developed by Gearbox released in 2001. It follows Barney Calhoun, a Black Mesa security guard. The game is his escape from the facility at around the same time as the Resonance Cascade. Now, I'm not calling it a bad game by any means, but it really isn't anything special. The gameplay is essentially the same as Half-Life, and is basically just extra levels. But, in the game's defense, it was originally going to be an exclusive to the Dreamcast port of Half-Life. But, extremely surprisingly, that got cancelled. Half-Life 2 was unsurprisingly a near flawless sequel. The game follows Gordon after leaving Stasis 20 years after the events of Half-Life 1 and ending up in City 17 after the Combine's invasion of Earth as a result of the Resonance Cascade. The game is way ahead of its time in terms of graphics and the physics engine. The gunplay is still amazing and the puzzles are even better with the physics engine Valve's Source engine brought. Although my one complaint is that some of the gunfights with the Combine, Civil Protection, and soldiers feel repetitive, as all of them feel like the same enemies. That's not to say the fights with the Combine soldiers aren't fun, it's just that they can get repetitive after a while. The storytelling of this game is leagues above Half-Life. Instead of nameless scientists, you get a wide variety of characters that help and guide Gordon throughout the game and are also tied to the overarching story in some way. Overall, the game is again an absolute must-play and is on par or surpasses the original 1998 game. Episode 1 takes place shortly after the events of Half-Life 2 and Episode 2 consecutively after. They are both great DLCs, but they are a bit different. Although they do introduce some new enemies throughout both DLCs, the gameplay doesn't vary as much as Opposing Force was to Half-Life 1, as they mainly focused on continuing the story of Half-Life. Both are basically extra levels for Half-Life 2, and they're both amazing. The only problem is how they left the game on a giant fucking cliffhanger, and didn't make another fucking Half-Life game for another 14 and a half years.